So, a few key strategies that have helped me grow my boudoir business. Definitely number one is social media. Social media for a boudoir business is essential. It's pretty much mandatory. Having a strong social media presence is one of the most valuable marketing things that I do in my boudoir business, and it is the way I have grown my business over the last 13 years. So, a Facebook group, number one, a private Facebook group that is women only, that is one of my biggest, strongest tactics to marketing to my audience is having a private group. The reasons why having a private Facebook group are so important is you control your audience, number one, right? So we don't have to worry about getting weird comments on our social media posts. Number two, it's kind of like fish in a barrel, right? So we've got these people that are, they like our business, they're interested in our business, and now we're putting them into one space that is private and controlled. So, fish in a barrel, right? And this way it helps us stay in touch with them. And it's just another way for us to connect with them. And what I find with the private women's only group is that women are more likely to comment and post and share inside that group when they don't have to worry about their coworkers, their family, their friends seeing those things online. So, because it's a private group, only members in the group can see and engage with the content in there. So, Facebook groups are free to set up, they're free to grow, they're free to run and operate, and it's your space. So, number one was social media. Number two is an email list. An email list is an invaluable piece of marketing that is essential for all photographers to begin building from day one. So, even if you have one person on your email list, you're off to a great start. If you don't have one person on your email list yet, get your email list up and running. And I bet you can get one person to subscribe, even if it's your best friend, your mom, your sister. But getting that email list built and started is number two for me for a key strategy that has helped me grow my business over the last 13 years. It's important within the email list not to just have it exist, but to actually utilize it. And so, what I always recommend for photographers is to not only have an email list as an option, but to send out regular content to your email list, whether it's a once a month newsletter or tips and tricks leading up to your boudoir session. There's endless amounts of content that can be sent out to your email list, but sending something out on a regular basis, even if it's just as simple as once a month, is so important to stay in touch with your audience. It keeps you front of mind. It builds that know, like, and trust factor. And when your clients are ready to book a boudoir session, they will have your contact information at their fingertips, and you will be the business that they think of when they're ready to book. The third strategy that has helped me grow my business over the years is definitely having a solid referral program. Having a solid referral program ensures that your clients are sending you new clients, and it essentially is free marketing for you. So, a referral program can be something that you talk about with your clients even at the time of booking, but definitely during and after their session, you want to be talking about your referral program with your clients. My biggest, best advice for a referral program is make sure you're excited about it. Because if you're not excited about it, why are your clients going to be excited about it? So, having a really powerful, strong, well thought out referral program is my number three strategy for how I've grown my business over the years. Almost every single client that I have ever photographed, I can link back to somebody else. There are very few clients that I've worked with over the years that found us organically on Google or a Facebook ad because I really have focused so strongly on my referral program and building my VIP group and building my email list that I really haven't had to put any money into things like SEO or Google ads or Facebook ads. Every booking that I've gotten has been pretty much organic thanks to my referral program. The way a referral program works is your current client, the client you just worked with or are about to work with, they're going to get an incentive for sending you their friends and family. And so for a referral program, you might simply offer them, a discount on a print or product. You might offer them a discount on their second session. You might offer them a free digital file. There's a lot of things you can do for your referral program to make it incentive enough for your client to send you their friends and family. Because more likely than not, your client's going to talk about their session that they did with you anyways. So why not incentivize it? Why not sweeten the deal and give your client a reason to tell her friends and family to come to you for their boudoir session? And a referral program doesn't have to be boudoir specific. A referral program can work for your wedding clients, your commercial clients, your families. It can work for any type of photography. But if you're not utilizing a referral program, you're definitely missing out on some of the best marketing that is essentially free to you, that is absolutely going to help you build your business. And one thing that's really unique about my referral program is that I incentivize my past clients to come back for additional sessions. A lot of people think that a boudoir session is kind of like a once in a lifetime thing, but it's not. We have clients that have done 6, 8, 10, and even multi-double digit sessions with us. So don't forget to invite your clients to come back for another session as well. So, some mistakes I've made and lessons I've learned over the years. I could do a whole podcast episode just on this. Mistakes I've made and lessons I've learned over the last 13 years. The first one was running a business without a contract. I know that a lot of photographers feel a little bit strange using a contract with a photo session with a client, but at the end of the day, photographers are charging or should be charging, thousands of dollars for a service that we're providing. And the last thing that you want to do is have mismanaged expectations for things like the number of images that they're going to be getting, the number of edits they're going to be getting. What does the editing include? The date and time of the session, cancellation and rescheduling policies, the turnaround time. What is the delivery date after the session for the products, for the digital files? And even just your pricing, having all of that stuff in a contract so that both parties are in agreement is so essential. I learned within the first few years of running my business, I had to have a contract. I had to have a contract because while a contract is a legally binding document, and that can be kind of a scary thing for some people, you can think about a contract as simply just laying out the terms that both parties are agreeing to. I find more recently that people are very, very busy. They're very distracted. And so, what happens when a client books a session with you and then they don't show up? I have been holding this date for my client for probably 6 months or more. I have my hair and makeup artist here who I have to pay whether the client shows up or not. So, a contract is going to ensure that both parties are in agreement. This is the date and time of the session. This is how long it's going to be. And if I don't show up, here are the repercussions for that. But the contract also can protect your client as well. And clients actually like having a contract because, again, it outlines the clear terms and conditions that both parties are agreeing to. Especially in boudoir photography, one important part of the contract is image sharing. It's really important that my clients understand that we value and respect their privacy 100%. So, our contract with our boudoir clients states that we do not share any of their images anywhere without their explicit written permission. Our contract also covers things like inclement weather. What if it snows? What if there's a storm? And that's really important to clients as well because they want to know, hey, if there's a blizzard in New Hampshire, which is, somewhat common, what happens? Like, what are the terms for that? And so the contract is just our one central document that we can refer back to when certain situations arise. Some other mistakes I've learned over the last 13 years is about the session fee specifically. So I've run promotions in the past where I've waived the session fee. Typically your session fee is a few $100s or, maybe upwards of $1,000. And it's essentially the retainer that a client pays to reserve your services. In my business, our session fee includes the time and talent of the photographer and the hair and makeup artist, but it does not include prints, products, etc. And so, one mistake really with the session fee that I've learned over the years is even when you're running a promotion where the session fee might be waived, it's still essential, imperative, mandatory to collect some type of deposit that goes towards their purchase. Because if you're running a promotion where the session fee is waived, even with a contract signed, clients are very likely not going to show up for that photography session because they have no skin in the game. No skin in the game. And so, even if you're going to run a promotion waiving the session fee, you always, 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 always want to collect at least a few $100s, $200, $300 at least from your client as a deposit to confirm that they're actually going to follow through with the photo session. And then a third mistake and lesson really that I've learned over the last 13 years is about prepayment. And I'm not talking about the session fee. The session fee we always collect at the time of booking to book and hold the date on our calendar. They'll sign the contract. Like that's the session fee. I'm talking about prepayment for products, packages, digital files. And I'm calling this a lesson learned because I ran my business for many, many years up until about 2018 without doing mandatory prepayments for my clients for the products and digital files. And I think this specifically applies towards maybe boudoir photography, maybe family photography. But wedding photographers have already been doing this for years. That wedding photographers have already been collecting prepayment for their services in advance for, I mean, as long as I can remember. Because imagine showing up to a wedding and photographing the whole day, and then your client's like, oh, yeah, we're not going to pay you. Like, no wedding photographer, hopefully, is doing that. But we have to think about our photography business, no matter what genre we're photographing, kind of like weddings, right? I'm collecting a session fee, and yes, that does cover, the studio usage for the day, hair and makeup for the day. But the session fee doesn't really pay my bills. It doesn't really pay my bills at all. At let's just say $600 a client for a session fee, I'm typically paying out about $200 of that to a hair and makeup artist. And then the rest of it really kind of pays for the studio space, whether it's a hotel or a rental or, my studio space that I have been in for, I don't know, 8 years now. But I'm talking about prepayments for the products and services because the session fee is certainly not covering my salary or my retirement. And so, what I learned my first 7 or so years doing photography as a business is that having clients prepay, even for something as simple as a minimum purchase, ensures that they're not only going to show up for their session, but that you're also going to meet what is your minimum threshold for profit. Because I don't know about you guys, but my photography business is a business. It's not a charity, it's not a hobby. I don't have another job, I don't have a secondary income. And so around the year 2017, I really scaled my business where I was photographing 100 or more clients a year just by myself. And I was going through a lot of growing pains, and I just was finding that clients were canceling last minute, rescheduling last minute, or just simply not showing up at all. That was really kind of cutting my feet out from under me because I would go through all this time and effort to book them, reserve the date on the calendar. And even at that time, I was still probably booking out at least 3 to 6 months in advance. And when a client cancels or reschedules or just doesn't show up last minute, that income that they would have been spending on their package, whether it's an album or prints or wall art or digital files or a combination, I'm losing out on my profit, which is the money that I'm counting on to pay my bills, to keep my business running. And so I switched over in 2018 to doing mandatory pre-session payments from all of my clients. And so in the boudoir world, what that looks like is at the time of booking, I would collect a session fee. As I mentioned, I think my session fee is around like $600 right now. So I would collect the session fee at the time of booking, but then I would require my client to also prepay for at least my minimum purchase to continue to engage in services with us. If you want to remain on my calendar, then not only are you paying your session fee, but I also need the prepayment for our smallest item, whatever the minimum purchase requirement is. It could be an album, it could be a small collection of prints, but over the last decade or so, my minimum purchase has been anywhere from like $700 to $2,000. And that fluctuates with the market, with my goals, and how I'm running my business at the time. But without that prepayment, what if a client came in? What if she did show up? She didn't reschedule, she didn't cancel, but she did come in. She went through the whole experience, which is 6 hours usually for us. So usually about a 6 hour day. And then at the end of the day, she's like, wow, that was so much fun. Thank you. I'm not going to buy anything. So I just held a date on the calendar for this client. I paid my hair and makeup artist for this client. I had my studio reserved for this client for her to not buy anything. So now I'm operating at a loss. And that has happened to me. That has happened to me for sure. A few times, several times actually. And so I used to offer payment plans after the session. Plenty of people decided after the shoot their cat needed surgery, their car died, they lost their job, whatever the case may be. I had already done the work. I had already done the work. So in 2018, I switched over to prepayments, and that really changed the game for me, requiring at least the minimum purchase to be paid up front before the shoot, just like a wedding photographer. I just want to make sure that I'm getting paid for my time, at least for the minimum purchase. And I've done my cost of goods and services, I've done my cost of business analysis. So I know the minimum of what I need to have revenue wise per client to keep my business in the green. And so that was definitely number three thing that I've learned over the last 13 years for what to do and what not to do in my business. So that was definitely a huge mistake that I made for years and years and years, but you don't know until you know or somebody tells you, right? And one of my biggest goals as a photography educator is I want to make sure that people are not learning things the hard way like I did. Because there's so much more education available to you than there was for me when I was coming up and growing my business. How did I hit my first six-figure year? So my first six-figure year was 2017. So 2016, in July actually of 2016, I leased my first studio. I remember it was above a restaurant, just one small room. I remember it was like, I don't know, $400 a month or something. But in 2016, that was the year I quit my job. So I signed my studio lease in July, quit my job October 1st. So I was hitting the ground running. I was scared to death, but I'd been doing this for a while. I know that I have the drive, I have the motivation, I have the skills, and I know what to do to make money. So 2017 was my first six-figure year. And not only was it my first six-figure year, it was also my first multi-six-figure year. My gross revenue for 2017 as my first full-time year working in my business was $248,000. And I was just shocked. Because I remember when I quit my job, I set a goal. I was like, if I can just make $60,000, like that would be so amazing. That would be so amazing. Because the most I had ever made in one year before my photography business was like, I don't know, like 30 or $35,000. And so I was like, okay, if I'm not gonna have a job, and I'm going to be doing this full time, I should be able to double that. So 60,000. So we'll set the goal for 60,000. And I put my blinders on, I put my head down, and I got to work. I got to work and I worked hard for that money. I worked so hard for that money. I was doing just promotions all the time, different specials, different mini session events, open house, bridal fairs, and this at this time I was doing more than just boudoir. So if someone wanted to pay me, I was going to take their money. Whatever that looked like. But that's how I hit my first six-figure year. I put my head down, I did the networking, I did the advertising, I was just running promotions, anything I could do to get butts and seats, I was going to do it. And I just worked and I just tried to photograph as many people as I could, get as many people in front of my camera as I could, and just make sure that, I was selling products. I was selling albums and digital files and prints and wall art because that stuff, can turn, let's say a $2,000 client into a $4,000 client, which was definitely not my average sale in 2017 when I was doing my first six-figure year. I think my packages were more like $1,200, $1,800. But I was floored and I was so, so happy. And my income the following year pretty much doubled. I think the following year I did like 418. And then the following year I did like, I don't know, 620 or something. I don't know, but it just went up and up and up every single year ever since. And now we're doing like anywhere from like 750 to 900,000 just in boudoir sessions. Like we only do boudoir now. So it happened really fast and we compounded it very quickly. But now we have it set up where it's pretty smooth sailing and it's really awesome. The education evolution. How did I get into educating other photographers and like why? So, when I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to go to college for, it always kind of crossed my mind like, oh, I could be a professor. I could teach at college or teach in high school, teach photography, teach painting, teach art. Just like I love teaching people. I love helping people. That's one thing I've learned about myself over the years is I really love to help other people. And so, as my boudoir photography business, or really just my photography business in general, was growing, I wanted to just spread that knowledge around. I mentioned earlier, there wasn't a lot of education for photographers when I was starting my business. That has changed so much. The landscape of education that is available for photographers, even just in the last 5 years, has exploded. There is so much knowledge at our fingertips now. There's tons of stuff on YouTube, there's Creative Live, there's workshops, there's virtual events. You can buy courses and guides and everything in between from other photographers. And whether you want to learn about art or you want to learn about business, there are a lot of resources available now. And I think that is amazing. I think that's amazing because I want people to be successful and I want people to run a highly profitable business that makes them happy and it makes them money because a lot of times those two things don't go hand in hand. You guys know the saying, starving artist. You don't have to be a starving artist as a photographer. I could teach you how to grow a six-figure business within 12 months if you're willing to do the work. And I decided to start teaching other boudoir photographers because I just wanted people to have the same experience that I had, to have the same business that I have, to be able to have a fully funded retirement, to be debt free, pay for your house in cash, pay for your cars in cash, have no bills, no student loans, no credit card debt. I just want to teach people how to do what I've done. And that is my single goal as an educator in the photography industry is just to help other people run a business. Because so many of my friends, so many of my peers in this industry, they're amazing artists. They can create, oh God, just stunning photographs, beautiful photographs. But their business side is a mess. It's a mess, whether they're not charging for profit or they don't know what to put aside for taxes or needs to be in your contract or even just the steps of like, setting up like a CRM, customer relationship management software. And so I have the business side of my business really locked down just because I've had to learn and I've had to figure it out. I'm not sure that I would be able to run, a $500,000 to $1 million a year studio if the business side of my business was not strong. And so my goal with teaching other photographers is to get their foundation set up so that they can focus on making money, making art, and having happy clients. The birth of my courses, because I do offer courses, I offer several courses. The birth of my courses came from my desire to help other people. And so back in, let's say, 2016 and 2017, there were a lot of Facebook groups out there that were focused on helping photographers grow a community. So just kind of meeting each other, networking, sharing ideas. And there were a lot of people struggling with business. And so I was just coming up with at the time the different systems that I wanted to use in my business. And I just wanted to share them with other people. A lot of my courses really came from places of frustration in my business. I spoke about some challenges and mistakes and lessons that I've learned. And a lot of my courses have come from having to go through those situations and experiences. So now when I go through hard times, when I go through learning experiences, I look at this and I say, okay, how can I change my business for the better so that I don't have to go through this again? And so a lot of my courses have come from that. So, contract bundle that I've been offering photographers for years and years and years. And a lot of those contracts have come from just experiencing issues in my business where I'm like, wow, we need a contract for this. Even if it's drop shipping an album from your printing company directly to your client, it's important to have a piece of paper with the address and a signature on it saying, like, hey, I understand my album is being drop shipped to me. This is the address that I want it to be shipped to. And once the album is shipped, I can't change the address for where it's going. So that needs to be a liability taken off the table for me. Just something as simple as that. A lot of photographers wouldn't even think to have a contract for that. But to have that in place saves your business sometimes if, let's say, the client puts in the wrong address or the client moves in the middle of this process and the album gets shipped to the old address. It's like, well, that's where you told me to send it. And once it's in transit, I can't just call UPS and have them reroute a package. Like, that's not, UPS doesn't let you do that. And that's not my business's fault. And it's not necessarily the client's fault either. That's just the way that it works. And so just having that piece of paper being like, hey, you signed this, this is the address. I know this happened, but it's not my fault. It's not my fault. So, the birth of my courses have really just come from places and times of frustration in my business, and then the desire to want to help people not have to go through that in their business. Talked about pre session payment plans, right? That's a whole course. That's a whole course to teach you how to implement prepayments into your business so that you don't have to go through what I went through years and years and years of hundreds of thousands of dollars lost because I didn't have those systems in place to make sure my clients were paying me before they came in for their shoot. The Hive is something I'm really passionate about. So, in addition to my courses, I also offer a group mentoring program called the Hive. And the Hive is something I started in 2022, so a couple years ago now. And it has just exploded. I think our industry is just craving community, it's craving consistent coaching and education, it's craving growth, and it's craving support. Like, there's so many lonely entrepreneurs out there that don't have anywhere to turn. They can't talk to their friends and family about their business because their friends and family don't get it. They go into Facebook and they're looking for advice. They don't know who to listen to. And so the Hive has been something that has really just grown because, it's my goal to help as many photographers as possible. And doing that in the Hive, it brings all these people together who are serious enough about their business to have a monthly investment and to show up and want to help and support each other. So the Hive is my group mentoring program. It's operates in Slack right now. So we're using Slack as our platform. That way we can get off social media. People spend just way, way, way too much time doom scrolling on social media. So the Hive gets people off social media and you can get support and get questions answered at the push of a button, and you don't have to worry about filtering out the noise. So I love, love, love the Hive. We're coming up here. It's September 2024 right now. So next month we're hosting our very first Hive live event here at my studio in Manchester, New Hampshire, where all the Hive members get to come together for free at this 3-day event, get to know each other, meet in person, and just really build those relationships and those connections that, in my opinion, are so important to, your ability to just maintain as an entrepreneur. It's a lonely, lonely endeavor, but it doesn't have to be. And so I'm excited to host that next month. Really looking forward to that. I have a lot of fun stuff planned, and we'll be doing it again next year too. I do find a lot of challenge with my education business, balancing education with client work. Yeah, I do. One thing about me, I'm always going to be transparent. I don't have anything to hide from anybody. And it can be really tough being an educator and also being a full-time photographer. I have a toddler, I have 5 dogs, I have a husband. We own an Airbnb in another country. I've got 2 associate photographers that are working for me. It's busy. I'm very, very busy. And so it's difficult to balance client work with education business, helping other photographers because I have really strong work life balance boundaries. I don't work after 5 p.m. I don't work weekends. I prefer not working Fridays if I can get away with it. Life is short and I love what I do, but I also love having a life outside of my business. So it's tough. It is really tough. But one thing that I've learned very early on in my business is that I had to hire help. I had to hire help. And that is why it's so important for us to understand our cost of goods and services, our cost of doing business, and pricing for profit and running a sustainable business because it's very difficult to do by yourself. It's so hard. And so I learned very early on like I need to hire help. I've had a cleaning lady since 2018. We have a full-time nanny. And actually, one thing that we decided as a family this year, my husband left his job. So we still have a nanny and a cleaning lady, but my husband left his job this year because it was impossible for us to see each other, to keep up. We're both stressed out and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's been a challenge to balance client work with education. Some years I've been very heavy in my education business. Other years I've been very heavy in my studio. This year in particular, we just opened our second studio space at the end of last year, just started taking clients in it at the beginning of this year. And so this year has been a very heavy studio business focused year where I'm working with a lot of clients and working with my team. And things are getting back on track, back to where I want them to be. We're kind of learning some things about how to run 2 studios and how to do double header days with clients. And we're scaling our client load a lot. So this has been the year of learning and fixing systems and coming up with new systems. And I'm hoping next year is a little bit more of a balanced, like 50-50 year. But it really comes down to just like having a schedule and sticking to it and just knowing how to prioritize tasks, what to outsource, and then what I actually need to do myself. So I'm figuring it out. I'm always a work in progress. And then I also just have a mantra that I share a lot with people. It's done, not perfect. So it's important sometimes to just get things done and not worry about them being just completely 100% perfect because perfection is just, it's the killer of productivity. It really is. So done, not perfect. Put it on a t-shirt, put it on a note card, but that helps a lot for me with the balance is just focusing on progress over perfection. Becoming a mom has really changed my perspective on my business. It's really changed my perspective on the work that I do. It's changed my perspective on how much I work and how much time I take off. So, becoming a mom as a female entrepreneur, I'm a little bit older. I was 34, I think, 33 or 34 when I had my baby. So I was a little bit of an older mom, and I had the luxury of being pretty financially independent at that point where our houses were paid for, our cars were paid for, fully funded retirement, etc. So that enabled me, like this business has given me so much opportunity for time that I wouldn't get in another job. And so being a mom in this business and as an entrepreneur, it's a blessing and a curse. Mostly a blessing. The only curse is that there is so much to do all the time. Being an entrepreneur, it's so hard. The to-do list is always just so, 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 so long. But my perspective has changed on what's important, what needs to get done, right? Changing deadlines, not putting too much on your plate, outsourcing things, hiring staff, things like that. I tried to go this summer without a cleaning lady. And needless to say, didn't last long because, like, I would rather spend the time with my family than, vacuum and scrub toilets. I would rather take my time off and spend it quality time with my family than doing things like laundry and changing the sheets when I know I can hire that out and I can also, empower another female entrepreneur. My cleaning lady is female, not always the case, but I can also empower her and pay her really well so that she can do awesome things with her family too. So I'm creating another job. So I don't necessarily look at, the money I'm spending on outsourcing as money wasted or money that I'm throwing away for a job I could do myself. I'm looking at it as I'm buying back my time, and I'm also, paying somebody else for a job that is in turn helping their family. So 2024 has been an interesting year in business for sure. I think a lot of business owners can relate to that. One thing that I have learned as a business owner over the years is to just be able to pivot. Like, we have to be able to pivot. Dealing with the industry changes and the way the economy has shifted and just buyer spending habits has shifted, we've had to do a lot of analyzing in our business. This is where it's extremely important for you to understand your cost of doing business, your cost of goods and services, what needs to be put aside for taxes, what you want to pay yourself. Like, this is where numbers is really the most important information you can have, because we were able to take a look at our business revenue and our client load and analyze that with what it actually costs us per client to run our business. And we realized this year that we needed to make some really serious changes across the board. We changed our scheduling, we changed our pricing, we changed our product vendors, we changed the things inside of our business that we're spending money on. And we started focusing more heavily on marketing efforts, because we were finding this year that, organically, we just weren't booking the volume that we need to run our business. We have just spent a lot of time this year running numbers, doing spreadsheets, and analyzing things, which it's not fun, and it can be stressful and can be anxiety inducing for a lot of us. But you have to know that stuff. You have to know that stuff, or you have to hire somebody to know that stuff for you if it's not in your wheelhouse. And so we've shifted a lot this year. We offered introductory prices for first-time clients. We have changed what our minimum purchase is. We have changed some of our payment options to become more flexible for people to be able to afford our services. And just really staying on top of our booked clients to really focus on making sure that we're not leaving money on the table with them. So upgrading them, selling them additional products and services, getting them booked in for second sessions. There's a lot of things that we've done this year to pivot and to stay on top of things and really make sure that the cash flow for our business is where we want to be. Because I do have staff that I want to make sure gets paid. And, we've got 2 studios. We've got a lot of overhead that we have to make sure that we cover. So just being really smart about the things that we're spending money on and making sure that our return on investment is significant. And we've, cut back in a lot of areas, like redoing studio sets, buying wardrobe, like things like that. We really are doing that more so now on a maintenance basis than we are on kind of like frivolous spending basis. So just working smarter, not harder necessarily. And so we've really been very happy with the changes we've been able to make to watch those numbers change and keep more money in-house. All right, if I could give you one actionable tip from our episode today, what would it be? What would it be? One actionable tip that I would give you is I would take a look at your network of people that you know in your circle and see who you can get in front of your camera this year and reach out to them, right? Just send them a quick message. A lot of people forget, they forget to book their family session. They forget to book their yearly headshots, their branding images. They forget to book their boudoir session before Christmas. So whatever genre you're in, reach out to your past clients, reach out to your network. Just remind them, hey, don't forget, I'm a boudoir photographer. I'm a family photographer. I've got a couple spaces left. Like, we haven't seen you in a while. Come on back. Come see us again. It's time for a refresh. Sometimes it's just that follow-up. It's just that, hey, don't forget about me. And I'm going to give you one extra tip too, just because it's kind of along the same lines. If you don't already have your email list set up, make sure you get it set up and start inviting people to join your email newsletter. And if you already have your email list set up, send an email out. Send something out to your subscribers. Even if it's just, hey, take a look at this pretty picture I took this week. They want to hear from you. That's why they're on the list. So anyways, you guys, thank you so much for being here, for listening. I'm so excited to provide you guys with more content, more education, and I can't wait to see how you scale your business in 2025.